Welcome to Climb, a podcast designed for sales leaders looking to turn RevOps and RevTech into real growth drivers. Brought to you by SBI, this podcast features candid conversations between our host, Cliff Simon, and top go-to-market leaders. In part 2 of the conversation, Cliff and KD dive deeper into the tactical application of AI and sales training. They discuss how leaders can build repeatable systems for performance, how AI can automate aspects of coaching without losing the human touch, and the importance of leading with empathy in frontline management.
You guys have been doing some with AI, you're saying. You want to talk about that a second?
For sure. That's right. What do you want to know?
Well, what's working?
Yeah. So we use AI in a lot of places. You know, we've used it for messaging, which is kind of like the classic use case, but you actually have to know what good messaging is to leverage AI for messaging. And that's where, like, I think people miss is, like, they go to, it's like, hey, write me a good email for Cliff. And doesn't know what the hell, like, you're looking for there, right? But because we have 3 hours worth of email copywriting training and frameworks and checklists, we can load all that up and in, and it can build us the messaging based off of what we know good to look like. So we have the wiggle built in there. We've used it for messaging. We use it for practice, right? So we use AI practice tools out there to make the repetitions.
Is that like voice, or you guys?
Oh, voice.
Okay.
Voice, right? There's some great tools out there that allow you to really build those things out. So we have our scorecards, so we can train the AI on our scorecards, right? So it knows how to actually engage with us and what we're looking for. So we do that. That's how we can get practice in every single day, right? Is they can practice with the bot, just get their repetitions in.
10, 15 minutes with the bot.
That's it, because it's that repetitions. And this is also where how we do practice is different than most too, is we're rarely practicing the full call, right? Like we'll use the tennis, I'm just forehand after forehand after
serve after serve, dink
right,
after dink.
Right, and even serve after serve. It's like, am I doing a spin serve? Am I doing a power serve to a corner? Like, it's specific skill sets that you work on. Oh, I love that phrase. You know I love that phrase. Right. Whereas most sellers, if they're practicing, they practice the whole call.
Yeah.
It's 20 minutes long. They got 1 repetition, but they got 0 repetitions with the feedback. They practiced it. You gave them all the feedback, then we send them back out in the game. So we chunk our practice heavily, right? Because 10, 15 minutes of just the opener, you don't get that thing down in 10, 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
We use AI for that.
What tool are you guys using for that?
So we use Hyperbound right now. Hyperbound is very good. Luster is another really good one that I'd encourage people to look into. So like especially, you know what good looks like. Boom. Repetition, right? Like my new SDRs, oh man, this is a fun one. So we just started hiring SDRs again recently, and I mean they're doing hundreds of repetitions on Hyperbound, hundreds of repetitions. My newest batch of SDRs graduated out their academy, their first full months on the phone. 3 out of the 4 were in the top 5 of the entire org their first month on the phone. First month. So imagine what's about to happen in month 2 and month 3. Because you gotta remember, ramp is actually just I don't know the right word. It's a synonym? What's the same word? Synonym? Cut that part out. Can't figure it.
Synonym.
So whatever, synopsis. But it's just, ramp is just repetition. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And the ramp takes longer, the less repetitions they get. So if I can get you 100 repetitions a day for 3 weeks, you know that by the time
100%.
you hop on the phone and you're ready for it, right? Like that's my favorite thing about it. So like that's where we use it heavily. And then the scorecards. This is where it's getting really fun, is we've built some really good like custom GPT scorecards where I'm starting to get every call scored. Every call, not just the ones that like a manager could sit down and do, like every call scored. And with one of my orgs, I had a hunch that we were missing some things on our calls, right? So I don't have that much time to go in and like list, but like based off what was happening in the sales cycle, we were seeing a drop off at a very specific point. Based off that drop off, right? Like we were just not getting to the decision maker. So if you talk to a VP here, I was like, okay, well, what would prevent someone from getting to the decision maker? Well, either 1, they're not asking for it. 2, they're not providing value around it. They're not suggesting who it is. They're not scheduling next steps. They're not confirming the person they're talking to is sold. Like, there's a lot of things you would look for there. I had a hunch that was happening based off what was occurring in the data, but I couldn't go and see it, right? Because I can only listen to so many calls. We built it out, ran like 80 calls through. Sure enough, like almost every single one of them was missing the coaching element of the call. And I was able to do that for 80 calls in an hour. And so now we're building all the
Why was that coaching element missing?
I mean, attention to detail by the reps, right? Like you fall into patterns, you fall into, you know, just poor habits. And we had coached on it, we had trained on it, something they had done before. But then you get away from it,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah.
And if it's not caught, if it's not inspected,
Then the behavior doesn't get corrected.
right.
Yeah.
And so I was even asking, I was like, are these saying? I was like, no, they're scoring great on the calls. Like I'm hearing from it, oh, they're scoring great on the calls. It's like, oh man, it's almost like I hope they're not. Because if they're scoring great on the calls and we're still seeing this drop off, it means our score is wrong. It means we're not actually, our wiggle is wrong. And so we caught it, revamped it, coached to it, but now I'm getting like every call scored. That is amazing to be able to look and say, all right, my entire org is missing here. And like to my level of scorecards, not like the 5 little questions that get asked sometimes in Gong and Chorus of like, you know, whatever. It's like, no, like my scorecard with my prompts, with my examples of what good looks like, with my examples of what not to do in that section, what the scores, that's a game changer. I'm so excited for this. I'm geeking out over it. It's amazing.
I don't know, I'm really big into like the sports documentaries, and I was watching the Vincent Company one on Burnley, right?
Okay.
And the question was, how can we take these players and get them to understand how to play together as a team? And it's like, well, I can't tell you when it will happen, but I can tell you based on the data, it's about 200 training sessions. Whether that training we do 3 a day or we do 1 a day, it doesn't matter. Once we hit that 200 training session threshold, that's about when the team will start gelling together and actually be able to compete and be able to work together in order to do whatever it is that we want to execute against in any particular game plan. So definitely pick up the theory of what you're talking about here.
And hopefully what people are also picking up is I believe the use case for AI is far more powerful internally right now than it is externally. The AI is not ready to run a demo yet. It's not there yet. It's not ready to negotiate yet. It's not ready for that. The email writing is getting better, but it's not great. You can still kind of sniff it out, you know, depending on what that looks like. Everyone's trying to use AI externally. I'm using it internally. What are the things from a leadership deal? We're doing deal inspection next, pipeline management next. Like I'm building all the manager agents out of like, it gets to a certain point where it's like, why can't a manager manage 20 people instead of 8, right? Why can I not lead 50 teams at once? If I have all my documents, all the wiggle, all the systems, all the GPTs, inspecting every single deal the way that I would expect, why is that not running through 50 teams right now instead of 1?
That's an insane number.
Like I think internally is where AI is most powerful right now because it's so much easier to define what good actually is and looks like, and it's in a controlled environment. Whereas like reaching out to a VP, a CRO to try to book a meeting,
you have no power to control that situation.
no
or
power,
outcome.
right?
Yeah.
It could be the perfect email. They didn't see it, they saw it right after they got yelled at by the board, so they just delete it. Like you have no idea. Whereas internally, I know what is expected, and I'm fully bullish there, and I'm very, very excited with what's starting to show up there. We're like, yep. I have yet to see, and if anyone out there sees it, can share it with me. AI still hasn't been able to tell us what good looks like. Right? You can't load up all like your top performers calls into it and then everyone else and really get a great answer. Like what is it Cliff does differently and better than everyone else? But if you tell AI what good looks like, oh boy, can it shift out whether people are hitting that bar or not. And I do believe most sales leaders do have what good looks like up here. It's just up here.
Yeah.
They never took the time like to document it. It's like one of the first custom GPTs I built was a scorecard builder. You can go in and it will help you build your call scorecard, right? Just help you get it out of your head of like, okay, let's go section by section. What would you look for and how would you phrase this? What are some different ways to say that? What should someone not do here? Okay, let's move to like, and it guides them. Now they have something that was buried up there, you know, that now they can use at scale. So there's so many use cases. I don't think sales leaders are getting into it as much as they should. I really don't.
Yeah, they need more time there. But again, the pressure, right? You feel like you have to go hit this number, and do you have the time, or are you focused in on these little myopic things that may or may not actually make the difference? And also, they're going out and selling.
Yeah.
Right? What other place in the world do we go to where the coach ends up taking over for the person that's supposed to be executing?
You know, it's because they're not able to relinquish that control. You know, it's actually funny. It's like, I tell my managers this pretty often. There are times, to be very clear, there's times leadership should step into a deal. Like, I'm not saying never, but like, I just use like math. I was like, what's a good close rate? Like 30%. I was like, all right, so you being on that demo, what is the odds of success? Even you being on that demo, what are the odds of that success from that 1 hour? Like, well, 30%. It's like, no, not really, because there's multiple calls throughout that entire process. Like,
give me the math. Baby.
Okay, like we have 17 calls on average, so the likelihood your presence on that 1 hour impacted that deal in a positive way is in the low single digits in terms of probability of impact. Why on earth would I have you spend an hour on something that's like a single digit probability of success? That doesn't make any sense. Whereas that 1 hour spent with Cliff role playing that call, I would way rather you spend an entire hour prepping the individual for that call than being on that 1 hour call. Absolutely, you're gonna have far more impact from that, far more impact, right? And that's just not how most people think. One, speed, but two, again, they've never been taught how to be coaches, right? We throw people into management and say, go manage.
Well, you were a good seller.
You were a great seller, so go now teach other people how to sell the way you sold. But I'm not gonna teach you how to teach, because that would be ridiculous. Like, let's not do that. But let's see if you can go do it. And then it doesn't work. Shocking. Shocking.
That's sort of how it always goes, huh? Mm-hmm. And you're trying to overcome a lot of that with Sales Leadership Accelerator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, and you and I have talked about this. If someone would have just taught us some of this stuff, right? Like, at some point, if someone would have just sat down like, hey, like, maybe like, here's how you interview someone. Or, hey, like, you want to be a coach? Here's how to actually deliver feedback. Like, we're just never taught these things. And so it forced us to go through so many mistakes that we didn't have to make, right? And then you have to learn through attrition, because like so many either get fired or moved out, and then you make enough mistakes and now you know what good looks like. It doesn't have to be that way, you know? And sales training is minimal at most companies. Leadership training, non-existent. Non-existent. And so that's what I'm trying to change, because like I did a lot of sales training for a long time, and I realized that the problem is like I'm solving down river. Like I'm doing hand-to-hand combat. 1 rep make the reps better. If I make 1 leader better, that makes 20 reps better, 50 reps better, 100 reps better. So if I can go upriver a little bit and teach them how to do these things, that's the impact. You know, I think we lose a lot of great sellers because they have a bad manager. We know that. People talk about it all the time, right? The cliche, people don't leave companies, they leave managers. It's like,
Sure.
Pros and truth and not some truth to that. But it's like, we lose good people because they didn't get managed properly. They never got led, and we lose great people in this industry. And so that's what I'm trying to solve, man. You know, it's been great, it's fun, it's growing. But like, either, you know, we have almost a couple hundred like leaders in there now, but like, there's 37,000 sales leaders across like SaaS across North America and EMEA. And it's like, we need all of them to be better. We really do. You can't afford not to be better anymore. Like, that really is the case. Like the aim small, miss small. You can't afford to miss. You can't afford to miss. You can't afford not to be a really good leader. And people crave it. People crave good leadership. They really do. It's just they haven't experienced it much.
Well, the job market's so tough now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Even if you are good.
Well, and that's what's crazy is like, you know, what people forget, the easiest way to land a job is called POP. You know what POP stands for?
No, tell me.
Proof of performance. Proof of performance. Can you prove that you can perform at the level that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Most reps don't have that. Like,
that's wild.
You know, like, they don't have proof of performance. It's like, just screenshot your dashboards. Like,
yeah, exactly, right?
I've been interviewing people for, God, I'm getting old, man, 14, 15 years now, and I've never spoken to a bottom 50% rep. It's wild, isn't it? Everyone who always interviews is always top 20%, top 10%. They can never prove it. Everyone says the same number. No one ever interviews and says, yeah, I was in the bottom half of my team. Everyone always says that, but they can't prove it. Leaders, and I've had just over the past month, we've had, I think, 6 or 7 members get promoted or land new jobs that are members of Sales Leadership Accelerator, and every single one of them said, like, the proof of performance, I mean, they could show the checklist, show the one-on-one doc, show the issue diagnosis, show the scorecards, show the 4Ds, show when they get proved to people, they know how to lead. They're like, whoa. Like, no one else has that. It's all buried up here. Right?
You have your metrics.
Yeah. It's not even just the metrics, it's the process, right? Because when you're hiring leaders, what you're actually hiring for is their process.
Yeah.
Here's my process for things. To be able to show that, people remember that type of stuff, and it stands out immensely. That's that you have to be better to get a job now. And if you're saying the same things as everyone else, you're stuck. They won't pick you. Whereas if you can show things they've never seen before, done.
What are those things that they're showing other than a handbook, a guidebook, a playbook, whatever you want to call it?
So rep improvement, right? So how reps improved under them, but it is actually the process. Here's my call scorecard, right? Because people ask, so how do you coach your reps? Oh, funny you would ask that. So I actually have a coaching plan process that I walk them through here. And actually here are the scorecards I've built for my previous orgs to measure whether or not they're doing well. Here's my issue, like they can show those things across it. Here's my hiring scorecard. Like people are like, oh damn, like, okay, like you can do this, right? That's what I'm hiring for. Even more than performance from leadership, so I'm hiring them for the process, because there are plenty of leaders that are bad leaders that had the performance on paper. They didn't have a process. They didn't have something they could actually scale out. That's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So for all of you out there, get process in place, scorecards, understanding what good looks like. Wiggle. Get your 4Ds in order. What keeps you going?
Oh boy,
You've been doing all this stuff for, like you said, you're getting old.
I'm getting old, man.
I see the grays in there.
Yeah, it's starting to pop up a little bit,
You got less than me. You're older, so that's.
So there's a future, I guess. Like this is baby face. Genetics go through. Like, I mean, the first man it's people. Like I love watching people get better. That still isn't old to me. That I have people on my team that are making more, that I have people, like names that are popular, like, Justin Gassell, like, hitting new marks and like telling stories of the all hands, like, Dylan getting the car that he's been wanting, like I love that stuff, watching people get promoted, Guller, and, promoted from rep to manager and doing a great job. Albert, who'd been there for, like, I still love that, so the people side for sure. And then honestly, man, like my coach will hate me for using this word, because we literally just talked about this morning. Like this morning, we talked about this on our call. But like potential, like I know I can be better. I know there's levels to this that I can crack, that I can figure out, that haven't been done before. That's exciting to me. It's like, okay, who's gonna figure this out? Who's gonna do something differently? Who can try? And like I love that game a little bit of like, man, like, I'm not done. Like they're like, I'm a totally different leader today than I was.
You want to be KD 3.0?
Absolutely. I want to get to 7, and then I want to get to 11, and I'm gonna shut it down after 13. Like at that point, like just take me out to pasture. Like if I'm still 13 years deep after this, like someone just come get me. I went wrong.
I'm sure your wife will
somewhere.
Take care of that.
Oh yeah, if I make it to 13 more, something definitely went wrong. So I don't know, man. Like it's exciting. I love the people side, but this is a game to me. This is a puzzle that I don't know if it can ever be cracked, but like I'm gonna do everything I can to try to figure out how to crack it, and that's still fun for me, and I will do it as long as it's still fun. As long as that fire is there, I'm gonna do it.
Cool, love that. So the last question of the show, and thank you again so much for being here.
Hell yeah.
Last question of the show comes from our previous guest. Seamus wants to know what you're excited about this year.
What am I excited about this year? Man. I mean, a lot, scaling, growing, trying new things. Like I'm starting to see, I'll say I'm probably most excited about like the internal manager agents. That is what I'm most excited about, is like, how do we really start to scale that inspection of like what good looks like, and is it actually happening, and where is it not, and be able to like make those tweaks. That's exciting to me, because like the team, the one team that's like this 3X, it was from like, okay, speed to lead improved, and then touches per lead improved, and then conversation conversion rate improved, and then show rate improved, and then close rate improved. Like each one of those knobs by 10, 15%, all of a sudden, a year later, like it. Yeah. I love those little games, and so I think that's what I'm most excited about. Is I think the use cases for AI are starting to become very real up here to me internally, and I'm excited to, I'll say, be the one to try to figure that out.
It's interesting because we look at a ton of AI, right? I'm always evaluating technology for folks, and you're the only person I've ever heard about talking around that manager AI to be able to do things internally and look at that inspection piece.
Right, because that to me that's also how you improve results. And I think I may be somewhat uniquely positioned to do it because of the wiggle and the 4Ds, because I do have the systems in place manually that allows me then to do something with it AI based. Whereas if you don't have the system in place, AI can't help you.
You have to give it the foundational information to build off of.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
And so I have that. And so it's fun to start to see like, ooh, how do I now take that and put it on steroids? Or maybe I could plug KDs in a whole bunch of different places, like to like do those things, or go into companies that you don't have a deal inspection process. I can build you one in 8 hours. Here. Now every deal is being inspected the way that you would want it inspected. Like, I don't know, man. Like that
and now
to
you can
me.
put in that rigor and
Right. That like, is it going well? And this is not about being Big Brother. This is not about, like trying to catch people doing
about helping people get better.
Right. It's like people, I was talking about this with actually a client of mine where like, the SDRs weren't performing great. And we looked into messaging, and the messaging was really bad. Their calls weren't really good. And I said, all right, like we got to shore this up. He's like, well, I'm afraid if I make it too rigid, like they're going to burn out. And I was like, your team isn't succeeding right now. That's what burns people out, is not succeeding. Help them succeed. This is not about Big Brother. This is like, your people are hitting their numbers. They're not getting paid, right? So we put in like new process, put in new messaging. And they actually texted me last week. They had their first 4 weeks in a row of every SDR getting a meeting per week, 4 weeks in a row. It had never happened ever before. And I was like, and how's the team feel? They feel rigid? They pushing back on the structure?
No, they're excited.
No, they're excited. They're doing things. And so that to me is what I'm most excited about, is like, I think there's some really cool stuff that can be done internally with AI, and I want to be the one that figures it out first.
Cool. Love it. So we've got one of two guests coming up next, depending who gets here first. It'll either be Trinity from User Gems or Alina from Chili Piper. You want to leave a question for both?
Yeah. All right. I'll go User Gems first. Like, how do you actually scale customer-led growth? Like, how do you really like get users to be your biggest like proponent? I'm gonna go there first. Like, people talk about it. How do you actually do it? Right? How do you actually do it? And then for Alina, I mean, obviously I have to ask her if I'm her favorite customer of all time. Like, for sure need to ask her that. No, for Alina,
I don't know, she might say Andrea.
I mean, fine. At least I know where I stand. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm okay with that. No, for Alina, I would say it's almost like the opposite of what we spoke about a little bit. Is how have they established the culture that they have fully remote? Chili Piper's done a lot of really unique things culturally.
Yes, they have.
Remotely, fully, and they fully embrace that. And I would just love to know, like, kind of some of their ways around going around that.
Okay, love it. Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Let's go, baby. Shit.
You've been listening to SBI's Climb podcast with Cliff Simon hosting. Visit SBI Growth to read SBI's latest research, join upcoming events, or learn more about SBI's go-to-market services. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and connect with us on LinkedIn.